passe super, l'artiste, super, encore un but sensationnel. That's a brilliant bit of follow-up play by Mahe. Oh my goodness me, what a shot.
Sagosen setter det hen! Han setter den! De i semifinale igjen!
Handball is great, isn't it? Unless you're a Dane. I think, once again, the Friday night games, the semi-finals of this Euro, show that you literally cannot take anything for granted in this sport. And in particular, the Danes have learned the hard way. Welcome to the Uninformed Handball Hour, our penultimate one of EHF Euro 2022. It's the semi-final review, final preview, and it's Chris here with Alex.
Hey, Chris.
No Brian at the moment because he is busy at the media call this Saturday morning, but we will hear from him as he spoke to Valter Chrintz after the Sweden-France game last night. But we'll start at the start with Iceland-Norway. No, we won't.
I think it's worth skipping that one. But I have a question for you, Chris.
Okay, go on.
Do you feel rested, or do you feel a little bit tired because maybe we should have taken a little break? You know, a couple of podcasts ago, maybe we could have missed a podcast and been really fresh going into this big semi-final podcast and been ready to
bring in the subs, you know.
Yeah, bring in the subs, get a few people in, miss a podcast.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have a Nicholas Kirkaloka for the podcast. But that proved to be a shite idea for Denmark. Who would have known? Huh?
We said it. We said momentum is really important, and it's important for the morale of a team. It's important for the way a team approaches each game, wakes up every morning, and a knockback like that. Not a good idea because they could have even avoided Spain. We could be talking about a Denmark finalist here.
Yeah. And, you know, when you consider Denmark definitely would have had the psychological advantage over Sweden as well going into that game based on the World Championship final last year, based on the team's forms and the similarities in the style of play and the style of players they have. But they decided to go the Spain route. And, you know, at the end, I'm glad. We have to give props to Brian. He went for Spain, more for the balance of things. But honestly, as the game drew nearer, he became more convinced that Spain were going to win. And the more I thought about it, of course I thought Denmark were going to win in the end. But you cannot count them out. And it's easy to say afterwards. But they just find a way. And they looked so different to the way they were in the whole championship. But when it comes to the final weekend, they just switched it on. And those individual performances, I mean, Gonzalo Perez Vargas, first of all, I mean, that can happen. Of course, he can have an amazing game. That's what you expect from him. But the semi-retired Johan Canelas and Jorge Maqueda pulling out what they pulled out was just, it was extraordinary.
No, I wouldn't say it was individual performances. It was a true team performance that really won it for Spain. We'll go into what the defense was made up of and how it worked, but at stages, especially in that second half, it felt like they were in a flow state, that mythical flow state where everything just worked. Every movement was in sync with every single player on the court. And the times where it was in sync, they had Gonzalo Perez Vargas to save them.
I want to ask you about the defense in a moment, because first of all, they prepared perfectly for that Denmark team and every single player that they were going to face. Take that away, in the opening 20 minutes, Denmark were by far the better team. I said it in the commentary as well, with about 3 minutes left in the first half. I was like, Denmark will feel like a 3-goal lead is the least they deserve in this situation going into the break. And it was fluctuating between 2, 3, 4 goals. And I was like, if Spain can make it a 2-goal game just before the break, that'll be perfect for them. They've snatched something here. That was the situation until Miguel Hansen whips that ball across to the left and Alex Gomez gets the steal, empty net to shoot into. All of a sudden, 1-goal game at the break. that for me was the complete turning point of it. Spain went into the half then saying, holy shit, we've been outplayed here. There was a period in that first half when Gonzalo was absent as well. They were the second best team, but were only 1 goal behind.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes down to the way Nicolas Landin started the game. He was actually 6 saves from the first 10 shots. So that made that gap for Denmark. And, you know, Spain just, again, didn't look that good.
No.
Like I said in the preview, Spain aren't that good sometimes.
Yeah.
And they were relying on wild shots from Casado. They had nothing going in attack.
No.
And then suddenly momentum shifted a little bit. I think Alex Gomez was a big part of that momentum shift because he was a big driver of everything. The steals, the kind of wing shots, the fast breaks, the fast restarts.
Yeah.
He was just everywhere. He
scored 2 goals in the left back position. He was literally everywhere.
And there was even a moment where the ball, I think it was a second wave fast break, and the ball moved around to the left and it was dropped by a player. Mm-hmm. And then for some reason, Alex Gomez picked it up on the line and scored on the left side of the court. Yeah. I was like, what are you even doing there, Alex Gomez?
I know, he was just everywhere. And his contribution in defense, and the whole defense itself, but I felt like particularly him and his threatening to steal every single time made Hansen think twice about everything and doubt himself about those passes, and made everyone just they held on in the Danish attack for another split second every single time, and that just added up into a complete lack of flow for Denmark in attack. And it was extraordinary. So talk to me about this Spanish defense then.
So the defense was absolutely incredible, and Jordi Ribera is just a tactical mastermind. It's incredible to watch because he knew all of the dangers that Denmark posed, and that's primarily starting with Mikkel Hansen and moving the ball really quick to Gisel on the right back. And when Gisel gets it at speed, then the defenses in front of him break, whether it's going one-on-one, whether it's beating a player and then passing it on the other way and Hansen finishing. So what Spain did was basically cut out that pass towards Gisel. They were quite aggressive there. They knew that Mikkel Hansen's going to receive the ball standing. So they stepped back on him. And then for large periods of the game, they tried to say, okay, Mikkel Hansen's going to pass to whoever is the center player, Mads Menzel Larsen, for example. And they're just like, okay, if Mads Menzel Larsen can beat us, and we have 2 2-meter tall center blocks here and Pérez de Vargas and goals, then we lose the game. We'll take our chances with that. And that didn't happen. And it meant that a lot of time it was a standing Mikkel Hansen passing to a moving Mads Menzel Larsen or Jakob Holm at times, or Rasmus Lauge. And they were going at speed. They had lots of space. They had opportunities, but they couldn't pass to Gisel because there was a player standing out. The line player was isolated. There was space on the wings, but the Spanish wing defenders are so active. It's a very dangerous pass to give that. And, you know, these guys in the center were like, okay, I'm going to take the shot.
Yep.
And then when Denmark moved kind of Hansen into the center, again, it was Hansen on his own trying to make the decisions, but the Spanish defense is just buzzing all around him. And that led to many technical errors. And maybe that's a potentially poor performance from Hansen. Yeah. But I wouldn't blame him too much. He had 5 turnovers, which is a lot. And 3 of them directly led to goals. But it's just that buzzing defense.
Yeah, bravo. It feels like, you know, on reflection, Denmark could have used their bench a lot better. When you have, you know, Jakob Holm played for a couple of minutes and Lasse Andersen not used at all, Kirkelukke not used at all. That was a game where you needed maybe your left and right backs to pepper a few shots in. And there's a comparative, you know, element to what Sweden did at the start of the game to remind France with Karlsbogard, we can shoot from outside. Mm-hmm. And maybe Denmark needed that instead of trying to play the same way. Because Gisel is he doesn't want to shoot from 10 meters. He tried to break through, wasn't happening. And then you put on the big boys. Lasse Anderson letting a 140-kilometer shot rip. Even if it goes wide, it reminds you that you have to come out, and then opens up space elsewhere. But they almost froze a little bit tactically.
Yeah, definitely. And for Gisel, also just one more point is that Spain switched their defense so many times. They went with a 5-1 defense, then individually marking Gisel, but they would only individually mark Gisel for like 2 attacks and then switch back. So Denmark could never really figure them out. And Spain just had like 6 variations of the same defense, which even included having 2 defensive specialists coming on in Pacina and Mingalon. But they would do it really gradually, make the first stop with one defensive specialist and then bring on the second one when play stops. So it was so well thought through. And Gisel had a game with just 6 shots, scoring 3 of them. And it is the first time in major championship history that Gisel has missed 3 shots.
Wow.
If you exclude the Olympics, because he did that twice in the Olympics. But excluding the Olympics, we have 2 Euros and a World Championship, and it's the first time he's missed 3 shots.
Okay. Finally, then, just because you said about the different tactical variations, Canellas spoke about that in the post-match TV interview as well. And at the end of it, though, I liked what he said. He's like, and then we have Gonzalo.
Yeah. And that was it, because what worked for Denmark at the end is when they went to the 7-on-6 attack, and they made 3 gaps on the left wing. They're really well worked, completely open shots on the left wing, all saved by
or missed,
but 2 saved, 1 missed from Perez de Vargas, and that's it. You don't come back from that.
That's it. So Spain through to the 4th final in a row in the Euro. It shouldn't surprise us, but it still surprised me, and in a good way in the end. I mean, I feel bad for Denmark in this scenario, but they did it to themselves as well. They were invited into a trap, and they fell into it well and truly. And a lot of, I think, a lot of reflection now for the Danes and how they approach championships and the squad. And I mean, for a team, they should have won it. I mean, based purely on the players alone, the form. They didn't deserve to win this game, but on the whole championship as a whole, there's no excuses for them not to have pulled this off. And finally, on Jorge Maqueda, what a man. There's no player in the world who transforms from when he's 1 centimetre outside 9 metres to when he's 1 centimetre inside 9 metres. Every time he shot from outside, I was like, no, what are you doing? He can't shoot. He needs to be punched in the face in order to actually get a shot off. He's a beast of a man, and bravo to him as well. Him and Canellas, and the shots in the first half from Casado, like you said, they were pinpoint accurate off the post. They needed that. And Alex Gomez is... the whole squad, like you said, it's too many players to single out. But I feel like I need to name check some of them. Yeah,
I think a little bit more on Canellas, and he posted a picture of his shoes before the game, and talked about it to Merle Schach after the game. But he had these custom made shoes made with a drawing of a phoenix on them, and that was to signify him being reborn, coming out of the ashes after missing the Olympics. So he wasn't selected for Olympics, which would have been pretty heartbreaking for him, as that was such a big goal for Spain. And then also coming out of COVID in this competition, he rose like a phoenix, and he was there when Spain really needed him.
And he looks rejuvenated.
Absolutely.
Looks like a new man. So we move on to the other semi-final?
I think so.
Yeah. Maybe before we do that, Sweden, of course, won that one. And maybe we hear from one of the heroes of the last few days and bring Brian's contribution in for this podcast. He spoke after Sweden's win to Valter Chrintz.
Are these the kind of games that you live for as a handball player?
Of course. This is why we play. I think these big games and with a lot of spectators, and like you say, it's a big game, and I'm really happy that we won.
At the end of it, there it was getting quite messy. I don't know what exactly went on. Could you really put into words maybe the last 30 seconds? What was going on?
I don't know. I think everyone was nervous. We didn't want to lose the ball. They were really high, and they were doing a really good job. They were a lot of pressure on us, and we do 2 mistakes, so they have the opportunity to make a tie, but we have Palika in the goal, and he's a hero today.
It seemed like he was not only saving, but he was also hyping up the team a lot. I saw at half-time he was really pumped for the whole thing. Is he a bit of a motivational figure also in behind the
Of course,
the camera?
yeah, of course. He's the captain. He's doing a really good job outside the cameras also. I think the game he do today is amazing. He's one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and he shows it today. Doesn't matter how many saves he has. It's just the important ones who is the best. So today he took the last shot, and that was the most important. That's why we win.
So it's been quite a personal roller coaster for you, taking the penalty in the last game, and then today playing also well. And I've never seen you smiling so much in your life. It must be quite the experience for you also.
Of course, I was playing the World Championship last year, but I didn't have this. The big role in the team. I was behind Daniel Pettersson, and now if you say luck or it's maybe the wrong word, but now I have the opportunity to play more, and then I feel like I got a lot of experience in these games, and I'm just happy that I'm in the team and that we play the final tomorrow.
And so Spain, have you watched much of them over the tournament, or have you paid much attention to what's going on with Spain? Because it seems like there was a lot of questions about their attack maybe not being as good as it used to be, but then today maybe they put that completely to bed after beating Denmark.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It feels like it doesn't matter how which players they have. They play a game or a handball who is really difficult to play against. They're really good to take the tempo down and then just explode. And this will be really difficult for us. They are really good to find the tempo in the game, to play slow or to play high. So this is a good team, and they have always been. So, like I said, they beat Denmark, who has been looking really, really good. So it's going to be a tough game, but there's also we are also playing about the gold medal. So of course.
Tomorrow off, will you be able to get one beer in at least, or is it no beer at all?
I'm the youngest guy in the team, so I'm not the one who is deciding this. But maybe not. It feels like it doesn't matter if you win. I think there is going to be a lot of beers after.
Yeah, it's this. Okay, enjoy it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, Valter, the hero a few days ago against Norway. A lot of new heroes for this team for Sweden today, or yesterday, against France. Jim Gottfriedson. Jag Sverige. He must have been shouting at various points, I am Sweden, as you mentioned in the podcast a couple of days ago, and Andreas Palika. But again, it feels like a game, and a very similar game in a lot of ways, although the handball was much better, like as a spectacle. But France come firing out of the blocks and just leave Sweden really struggling. I think the first 5 goals, none of them were from a set attack. And France came out really looking inspired. What happened then?
It's tough to know. I think 3 goals for Palika in empty net goals, that does tend to change the course of a match. So that's kind of tactical mistakes. Or technical mistakes from France when they were in control. It was difficult to pinpoint. Again, Sweden in this whole tournament have just been so methodical in the way they play the game. They never get phased. They just do the same thing over and over again. And at the start, their shooting, Carlsberg or wasn't at the races.
Yeah, but I felt like they needed him to do that, right? Because the first few minutes there was turnovers with passes weren't great, and he wasn't shooting. And then he was like, they had the timeout. Glenn Solberg took the timeout this time, not Jim Gottfriedson. He was like, right, it's okay, we're losing 5-1, but it's because of three mistakes, 3 counterattack goals. Otherwise, we're fine. Let's just be a bit smarter. And Gottfriedson told to get his shit together, man up and take some shots. Cracked one off the crossbar. Then he scored. Then he scored again. And then it was like, okay, we're actually in this game. We can shoot from the outside. we can make things happen elsewhere. And they just needed some time. But it was a perfect example of how momentum will eventually come around. Like, no team is going to blow you out of the water at this level for the entire 60 minutes. France came out really strong, but when the momentum shifted then, and from 5-1 up to 11-10 down, and like I said, Sweden were so methodical. Goalkeeping was brilliant, and they just became relentless in attack as well. And that was the word I thought with Jim Gottfriedson. He was relentless.
Yeah,
he was like, you're not going to be able to stop me every time. You may stop me 8 times in a row, but then the next 4 times I'm going to get you.
Yeah.
And it must be such a ball ache to face him, right?
I'd hate it. You'd have to be you have to be on the ball all the time. And again, France's centre block wasn't really up to it. I'm not going to blame France too much in this game, actually, because they had a pretty good game. They played well.
The handball was good. Yeah.
The handball was good. They didn't make too many mistakes. They had a couple of people not show up. DKM.
Yeah, that's your meme was just 2 days too early.
I was 30 minutes of handball too early.
Were you considering posting it again during the game? The quote tweeting it saying, well...
It was even more relevant for this game because he was 2 from 5 in the first half and 0 from 1 in the second half. Yeah. He completely disappeared.
Didn't fancy it.
He didn't want it, but a player who did want it was Aymeric Meen.
Fuck me.
Wow.
I'm so happy for him because ever since I probably saw him for the first time at Nantes last season, where he came out of injury and was phenomenal, waiting to see him, he's grown into the championship. This was I said it over and over again. It's like, where was he in the first half? Melvin Richardson did all right, but it was in hindsight, a bad decision to start with the 2 lefties in the backcourt. I could see why they tried it because it worked in the second half against Denmark. It was a kind of the safer choice in the end. Aymeric Meen, though, he really exploded. What a performance. And that performance didn't deserve to lose. And as the game wore on, you could see Karabatic and Mem were just like, no, we need to give the ball to Aymeric. And we have to see what he can do. And he did it all.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's really amazing. And just really glad to see him in the picture for France. He's been on the outside for way too long, I think. Many people in France would agree with that. But also just back to Sweden. I don't know how they do it because they face so many setbacks. At one stage, the team on the court was, so we had Pellas on the left wing, Valenius on the left back, Gottfriedson in the middle, right back was Persson, and then right wing Valter Chrintz, and on the line there was Oscar Bernardinal. None of those players started the first game for Sweden in this championship. And maybe that's a reason why they've actually reinvigorated themselves and are playing so well now, because they have these young talents or just players on the edge who want something to prove. And that seems to have worked for them so many times where they face a setback, get some new players in, and those players just light it up.
Yeah.
Carl Valenius had 2 shots in the whole tournament so far, missed both of them. He's played about 15 minutes, 4 from 4, 9-meter shots.
What was more impressive than that for me was that in the first half, he got in really quick succession 2 2-minute suspensions. Playing opposite DKM, right? The most dangerous guy to slip away from you, arm around the neck, 2-minute suspension. Game over for him. 1 more 2-minute suspension, but Glenn Solberg put him back in and he played another 20 minutes of defense and attack without getting that 3rd suspension, while then producing those 4 goals, which is mind-blowing for him. And I don't know where the inspiration came from to put him in there. I think in the end, Erik Johansson wasn't available. That might have been the best thing to happen to Sweden, because he's a bit of a loose cannon. He's moving to Kiel, by the way, revealed today.
I did see that.
And he's one for the future. But Valenius and person coming in. And I love the Montpellier derby aspect of it, because both of them playing for Montpellier, and then opposite them was they had Yanis Len, Valentin Port, and Melvin Richardson, who had just moved away from Montpellier. So there was a lot of familiar faces. One really nice moment when Yanis Len missed the shot, and down the other end he got a tap on the back, like a consolatory tap on the back from Lucas Pellas, which is really, like, in this situation, really lovely. Don't worry, pal. We get it next time.
But we have to talk about the real reason why France lost, and the real reason, the real difference between the two teams, and that was the goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Quite simply put,
second year in a row.
For the second year in a row, the goalkeepers were the huge difference, and the French pairing of Gerrard and Pardon had a save percentage of just over 10%. Really poor, but I think the stat that really stood out for me was that Sweden had 13 9-meter shots. They scored 8 of them. But when you dig into that, the 5 shots that Sweden missed were not saves. They're when the ball wasn't framed.
Yeah.
So every time Sweden from 9 meters took a shot on target, it went in. 8 from 8. Mm. And at this level, that's just inexcusable. You can't allow that. You can't allow a team to do that to you. Yeah. And on the other side, Palika was just incredible. He was in his just amazing fired up form where he's just making incredible saves, and not just the simple saves, the really tough saves. And at the end, France could have taken it to extra time.
Yeah, after all that,
Sweden were 2 goals up with about 45 seconds to go when they made 2 technical mistakes. The first one resulted in goal for Mean, and then the second one, what a save by Palika.
Yeah.
Just, like, imagine doing that. So what Palika did was, in the space that it takes Ludovic Fabregas to shoot the ball from 3 meters away, he did the splits and sat on the ball. Can you just, like, try thinking of doing that? You know,
can't even do
imagine, imagine being able
not sure
to
I can
do
even
that.
sit on a ball.
Imagine trying to, like, sit down in that period of time.
Incredible. Yeah, what a hero. And Andreas Palika had the post-match interview on TV, and, you know, first of all, he said Ian Gottfriedson has the best eye in handball, which is a very good call. And also said, with the team we have, we can move mountains. And I was like, that's very well thought out in English. Then he, as they do, they ask him for the statement in Swedish. He said the exact same thing. So I'm pretty sure either he thought as he was saying it, this is gold, and I'm going to repeat this in Swedish, or he had it pre-planned out. I don't know. Either way, brilliant performance from Sweden. And now we have a repeat of the final from 2018, which was not one of the classic finals. It was a great comeback win for Spain on that occasion in Zagreb. So now Spain have kind of showed their hand. It's kind of like they've we're not here. We're not, this below average team. We're actually, we prepare properly for these occasions and we're ready to take them on. Spain also beat Sweden in quite preliminary round, 4 goals, comfortable win. Both teams have gone on a loop-de-loop of form since then. Sweden got even worse for a moment and then picked things up in the main round and have been, 5 wins in a row, speaks for itself. Spain have had a dodgy campaign, but now have burst back into life with that masterful performance. What do you think the coaches will be doing to set this up again? How do you approach this?
I have no idea what Jordi Rivera is going to come out with. I have a feeling they might go with a 5-1 defense for large periods of the game to throw off Jim Gottfriedson. So to beat Sweden, you need to somehow stop Jim Gottfriedson. And if there's one man to figure out how to do that, that is Jordi Ribera. They could go with a very similar approach, I think. I suppose
does that play into Sweden's hands then? Because then Glenn Solberg has seen what they've done to Denmark. That's what I mean. Now they've shown their hand of what they can do to a team like that when they prepare for every man.
So it's actually what I'm saying. It's a similar approach, but it would be the flipped version of it, which I don't know what it is. So basically, Sweden start everything with Jim Gottfriedson, and you have to stop him. With Denmark, they start everything with Hansen, but you really have to stop the finisher.
Yeah.
In this case, Giesel.
Yeah.
So now Spain have to figure out how to ensure that Gottfriedson doesn't get into a rhythm.
France tried that with Konku at 5-1, but Konku, as fast he can be as fast as you like, or any defender can be as fast as you like, but Gottfriedson will beat the crap out of you. Like, he just, as soon as he's allowed a couple of meters to run with the ball, he has the physicality and the brains to beat them. And so they have to figure out who is going to come out, because Alex Gomez is not big enough to take him on. He might be quick enough, but I think as soon as Gottfriedson, I think he's happy to take it. Well, we saw he's happy to take on two defenders over and over again.
Yeah, but
never mind one. And I think,
but in that semi-finals, Spain had Canellas as
that could be
the player that was stepping forward. So this time he did it on the left side. It might be Canellas on the right side. Which would be
great.
That would be two bulls, locking horns.
12-round boxing fight here. That would be great. Yeah, Spain basically need to replicate what they achieved and stopping the attack, or stopping the opposition, and then they will need some inspired individual performances again. Like that attack 9 times out of 10 wouldn't be good enough to do what they did yesterday. They'll have to find the solutions there, which could be the big problem for them. So what do Sweden need to do to ensure they win?
So they need to take care of the ball. So they can't give Spain the opportunity to fast break. And especially, I would be really annoyed if I was Nikolaj Jakobsen coming out of that semi-final, because Spain got 4 goals from the fast restart after a goal, which is criminal. And, Spain are very good at that. Alex Gomez is lightning fast, but you can't concede 4 of them when you know that's what they're going to do. So Sweden need to, just slow down even more. But the thing is, we saw against France, they weren't really able to slow down.
No.
The France pushed the pace, and Sweden kind of kept up with them. I think if they get into a battle of fixed attacks, Sweden will come out on top.
And even in the transition attack and defense there, Sweden's approach with 6 men going both way could be really beneficial there, because they won't have to swap over, which creates fewer gaps for Spain and the quick start, and Spain getting 2 men in defense eventually will be difficult as well. So that could be a key factor there. But the feeling it'll be another incredible goalkeeper battle as well.
Could be.
That is set up really nicely. And both teams, Sweden, all 3 of the Sweden's goalkeepers have provided some really good stuff so far. Palika had the lowest percentage of the 3 going into the semi-final, and look what he did. Yeah. So I was almost certain, if this was the pairing who I thought would win it. Now I think it's Sweden have the small advantage here, but it's really hard to be certain.
A question we've gotten so many times throughout this championship, previous championship, is why do we keep underestimating Spain? But I just want to answer that straight away, because their attack is just not that good. Their whole tournament has not been that good. They beat Czech Republic by 2 goals. They beat Bosnia by 4 goals. They squeezed out a win against Russia. They squeezed out a win against Poland. And, by all logic, you have to assume that Spain aren't going to win everything. By all evidence, their attack hasn't been good. But when they can enter a flow state like they have in the semi-final, they're unbeatable, but it's you can't just assume that they're going to just enter that flow state. So
it was the same 2 years ago. You underestimate them until they reach the final, and then they're the favourites again. And then they're like, well, it's Spain in the final. Look at what they did in the semi-final. It's that's really hard to know what they like. It feels again like it's unsustainable until they sustain it.
Yeah,
and then it's like, well, of course they did.
It's a mindfuck. I'm sick of Spain. I'm sick of them.
They're fantastic. The bronze medal match could have been the final. Could have also been not the 5th, 6th place playoff match. That's what I was thinking about Norway, Iceland yesterday. I was like, this could have actually been a semi-final.
Easy. This
was 2 goals away, 1 goal in each game away from being a semi-final, but it wasn't. It could have been a final, Denmark, France. Both teams kind of getting their comeuppance for that end of the main round.
Yeah.
I guess Iceland, everyone in Iceland went to the, what are they called? In the Eurovision film?
Oh,
the elves.
The elves
to the elves.
And prayed for a Spanish victory.
The Spanish victory and a Swedish victory, so that those 2 teams who screwed over Iceland would end up in the bronze medal match. Yeah. Who knows? Who cares? At this point, who cares? On that note, we'll be back with the final podcast after the final. We may do it live. We'll see if we can all be in the same place. And we'll be going through the final, of course, bronze medal game a little bit, depending on how it goes. And we'll do our own individual EHF Euro awards, and I think should we post them out on social media as well, so people can give their suggestions. You have the list here for us.
Yeah, I think it's probably some of these awards need a bit of an explanation. Like just posting who is the Adrian Shiposh Award for Excellence in Shithousery.
Yeah, I mean
that's a pretty tough one for a lot of players.
That's one for the hardcore fans. But we'll post them and post the previous winners out today during the day on Saturday, and so people can give us their suggestions, and then we'll talk through them and give out the awards, which is always a fun way to end the championship. How about that?
Yeah, let's try that.
And until then, everyone, thank you. Enjoy the final, and we'll talk to you afterwards. Goodbye.